Hello, America. Hello, world. This is Jake Baker. This is the Baker Report. On this week's Baker Report, show me the mountain, fetch me a giant, living out the spirit of Caleb, walking in victory. Folks, there's a lot of headlines that I'd like to spend time on this week, but with the new shorter format, there's little time to speak in detail about most of the headlines we read every day. Headlines that blare out a warning to all of us who have ears to hear and eyes to see. For instance, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin just tried to blackmail Congress, threatening them that if they didn't give him more money for Ukraine, that he would send U.S. soldiers, American soldiers, to Ukraine to be slaughtered there. He should be fired, impeached, and tried. He's there to carry out the will of the elected officials of this country, not extort money from them and threaten them. Then there's Nikki Haley, running for president, who says government should not pass laws prohibiting sexual mutilation of children. She said that's an issue that parents should handle. Well, Nikki, what about murder? Should we let communities decide if murder, rape, or battery should be criminal acts or not? Should this be left to the local people to decide what kind of decisions we make on punishment for these, or if we punish them at all? What utter foolishness. Then there's Mike Johnson, who said that he would release all of the January 6th videos so that all of us could see for ourselves and judge for ourselves what happened. Well, he still hasn't done it. And now he says that he's bound to protect the innocent by blurring the faces of the people in those videos to protect them from the DOJ and the FBI. Of course, we all know that is a lie. The FBI, NSA, DIA, DOJ have all had all of this video footage since January 6th. They have of 2020. They've already used digital fencing to identify everyone in those videos. They know who they are, they know where they're from, where they work, what their families look like. So why would Johnson blur their faces now? The answer is pretty simple. This is his way, his excuse for hiding the faces of the more than 200 insurrectionists who are on the payroll of the federal government. He doesn't want you being able to identify them. And while each of these stories is important, I think I have something that's even more urgent for this week's Baker Report. I sat imagining the other day about the events of history, the things that we're facing, and those who came before us. What they saw, what they imagined, what went through their heads. And as I sat there, I thought of Caleb, and I could imagine the gray dawn before the battle. The biblical hero Caleb was staring into the high country of southern Israel, in an area known as Hebron. Perhaps the hazy morning light just beginning to break over the top of the mountains. Caleb sizes up the mountain, and in his mind's eye, he can see the battle unfolding as he faces the Nephilim, or giants, if you will, in the land. This is a battle that Caleb had been waiting to fight for 45 years. But he had to wait for his return to the Promised Land, to the area around Hebron, the high country in the Promised Land, for 45 years. 45 years earlier, he had been there, but Israel had forborne to fight. They trembled in fear at the sight of the battle. Their fears had been stoked by the 10 unfaithful spies who brought back a bad report which said Yahweh was untrue, that he could not deliver them a victory in the face of the giants, or Nephilim, in the land. In the end, of course, the giants were subdued. Hebron became the possession of Caleb and the tribe of Judah, and was the centerpiece, or the birthing place of the nation of Israel. But this really is more about Caleb than it is Israel. Caleb was now 45 years older. He's 85 years old. But his strength has never failed him. Nor is he aged like a normal man. He's living in the supernatural, and his faith has tapped into the power of Yahweh in what seems to be a stoppage of time for this last warrior. Now, sure, Joshua was still around. He was a warrior too. But Caleb kind of was in a special category. Like Caleb, we're about to face the giants in this land. Same giants, by the way, that Caleb faced. They're the Nephilim. The sons of the Rephaim out of Genesis chapter 6. They were the giants of the days of Noah. These were men of great power. They controlled the land, the people, and they were desperately, desperately evil. These were black, murky days for the earth, as violence, wickedness, and darkness ruled the planet. We know this from Genesis 6, verse 5. And God saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And that is once again the fight that we face. We are at least metaphorically once again staring at the high ground in Hebron, envisioning the battle with the giants. And perhaps as the gray morning light begins to break over these spiritual mountains in the early morning of this day of battle, we too can begin imagining what it might look like as it unfolds. And of course, we know who the enemy is. It is Satan. And it is his fallen angels. And it is the Nephilim. But now these Nephilim are no longer physical giants. They're intellectually powerful beings with trillions of dollars in wealth who buy and sell everything and everyone. Revelation 18:10 says, standing afar off, and by the way, this is describing the destruction of end-time Babylon, which I believe to be America. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And by the way, we know that the word city means actually country, region, land, because it talks later on about in Jeremiah about the cities being set on fire, not a city. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet, and of all tine wood, and all manner of vessels of ivory, and all manner of vessels of most precious wood, and brass, and iron, and marble, and cinnamon, and odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beast, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and the souls of men. And now, as we face the battle, we know the enemy. It's the same enemy we saw in Genesis chapter 6. We're told in Luke 17:26 and in Matthew 24:38 that it will be just as it was in the days of Noah. It is in that story in Genesis that we are told that man was evil and that they had been corrupted by the fallen angels who had taken the daughters of men and introduced into the seed of humanity their evil nature. They had polluted completely, except for Noah and his family, the human race. They controlled everything. As the scripture says, all of their thoughts were evil continually. Folks, we face the same enemy, but this time our enemy is more powerful, more evil, more violent, more bloodlust has come out of them, more bloodlust than can be satiated. We know that because Matthew 24 in verses 21 and 22, it tells us, then shall be great tribulation such as was not from the beginning of the world to this time. No, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should be no flesh saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Tells us a lot about the coming future. That all mankind could be wiped out. Is that nuclear conflagration? Nuclear winter? Maybe it's AI. Maybe the machines take over. This is our enemy. A bloodthirsty lot with super intellect, super power. They control and buy and sell the world and the souls of men. And I believe that their plans are unfolding even as we speak here today. And there is more darkness, and yet more darkness, and more bloodlust that is about to be unleashed on planet Earth. So, one might ask, well, where is the Caleb part in all this? Where's the part where we win and take the high ground and slay the giants? Where's the victory? Where's our Caleb moment? Well, good news and bad news. There will be no Caleb moment. And at least not the Caleb moment that many, particularly in the church, are looking for. Because we're looking for the wrong Caleb moment. The Caleb moment we're looking for doesn't exist now and didn't exist then. I know it's a little confusing, but we'll straighten it out in just a minute. We'll not have to wait too long, but we're going to have to wait for just a minute because we're going to have to explain the real Caleb moment right after we take this short time out. So stay tuned for the real Caleb moment right after this.
You finally took the plunge and started that video blog, or podcast. And it looks great. So you go down the checklist. 1. You talk about lots of important stuff. 2. The set looks incredible. 3. You are already lining up amazing guests. 4. Wait, what's 4 again? Oh right, you need viewers. You know, people to actually watch the videos you're uploading. Those people that make it possible to monetize your podcast or video, or bring in customers. So, how do you get viewers? Well, you can hire some big ad agency, but to them, you are still just a small client. You can call every member of your family, and their families, or you can contact Elite Power Pros. We'll tailor a custom plan that meets your needs, finds your audience, and keeps your budget in mind during the whole process. Visit us today at ElitePowerPros.com. That's ElitePowerPros.com. I don't know about you, but I'm constantly searching the internet, YouTube, and Rumble for something to watch that will give me news and events. But I really want more than that. I want to know what it all means. I want to know what's going on behind the scenes, and I'm looking for something that'll tell me how all of this relates to the times, and the unfolding of Bible prophecy. I can find news, I can find preaching, but finding someone who can put it all together has been frustrating. But a few weeks ago, I stumbled across the Baker Report with Dr. Jake Baker. He has Glenn Beck passion, the insight of a Rusher Tucker, and a prophetic understanding like a Jonathan Cahn. Such a refreshing find. His program comes out every Friday afternoon, but the archives are available anytime at rumble.com. Then search for his channel, The Baker Report. That channel again is The Baker Report. It is amazing.
And we are back for page 2 of the Baker Report, and we've been talking about that Caleb moment, the moment of victory. And we'll get to that because it's important. We'll do it in just a minute, but just ahead of that, just before I took the break, I said this. We face the same enemy, but this time, he's more powerful, more evil, more violent, whose bloodlust cannot be satiated. As we look upward toward the high ground that we're supposed to conquer, what we see looking down on us is a tribe of bloodthirsty giants. There is one sin that Yahweh says he will not forgive a nation, and that sin is the shedding of innocent blood. And this is a battle that we're losing, and a battle that is, I believe, going to be the final straw that starts the chain of dominoes falling that will lead to the destruction, eventually, of America. It is the murder of children, offering them on the altar of abortion, hewn from the bloodlust of the Nephilim, who control not only this nation, but the world. Ah, but you say, Brother Baker, we just won a great spiritual battle on abortion as the Supreme Court just ended abortion with their decision in June of 22. To you, I would say that not only did we not win, we lost. Here's why. First, the decision did not overturn abortion. It simply made it a states' rights issue. The High Court did not declare abortion illegal, immoral, or wrong in any way. Nor did it classify it as murder, manslaughter, or a criminal act of any kind. It simply took the federal government out of the driver's seat on the issue. But it did a lot more than that. It gave the left the rallying point that it needed to turn out the base to send hapless Democrats or liberals of some sort or another back to Washington, D.C. and to state capitals, or in the case of incumbents, of non-incumbents rather, of newcomers, to those state capitals and to Washington, D.C. It was never about abortion. It was about elections, and we were just tricked into believing that it was about life. We were betrayed by the supposed conservative judges we thought were on our side. Second, it made it a states' rights issue. That means that now we're going to have to fight this battle again in state by state by state, and it will be very tough, violent, bloody, merciless fight. Folks, these people will stop at nothing to bathe in the blood of the unborn. As most of you know, the state of Ohio just passed a referendum securing the, quote, right of mothers, end quote, to slaughter their children up to the moment of birth. Look for this issue to find life in state after state after state, as this same referendum will be on ballots across the country in 2024. I believe that the vast majority of the states will choose to enshrine abortion into their constitutions, legalizing the right to murder children in the womb. And the backlash to the Supreme Court decision of June 24, 2020, will cause many states to adopt unrestricted abortion laws, and the innocent blood will flow like a river before the throne of Yahweh, and will cry out against the land, demanding the judgment of Yahweh on this country. Proverbs 6 tells us, "These 6 things does the Lord hate. Yes, 7 are even an abomination unto him: a proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood." Hands that shed innocent blood. The Lord says they're an abomination. And by the way, everything that the Lord says is an abomination is sentenced to death. The shedding of innocent blood is called murder. This is a sin for which the nation, our nation, will not be forgiven. Here's what the Lord says to Israel about shedding innocent blood. 2 Kings 21, verse 12. "Therefore, thus saith the Lord of Israel, Behold, I am bringing such evil upon Jerusalem and Judah, that whosoever heareth of it, both his ears shall tingle. And I will stretch over Jerusalem the line of Samaria, and the plummet of the house of Ahab, and I will wipe Jerusalem as a man wipeth a dish, wiping it and turning it upside down. And I will forsake the remnant of my inheritance, and deliver them into the hand of their enemies. They shall become a prey and a spoil to all their enemies, because they have done that which is evil in my sight, and have provoked me to anger since the day their fathers came forth out of Egypt, even unto this day. Manasseh shed innocent blood very much, till he had filled Jerusalem from one end to another, beside his sin wherewith he made Judah to sin, in doing that which was evil in the sight of the Lord." He shed innocent blood. And Yahweh says he's going to destroy his own people, his own promised land, because he will not forgive the shedding of innocent blood. 2 Kings chapter 2, beginning at verse 3. "Surely at the commandment of the Lord came this upon Judah, to remove them out of his sight for the sin of Manasseh, according to all that he did, and also for the innocent blood that he shed. For he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, which the Lord would not pardon." I believe that the issue of abortion will be on the state ballots of this country, across the country, in November of 2024. I believe that it will pass in many, many states, state after state after state, and we will have enshrined the shedding of innocent blood once again for tens of millions of people. And the shedding of innocent blood is a sin for which there is no pardon in Yahweh's sight for a nation. This is just one of the giants we're facing this coming November, but this is the age of the calling out of the Calebs from amongst the people. This is the time, folks, of victory. This is the rise of Ephraim, Yahweh's anointed firstborn. You recall Caleb was among the 12 spies that were sent into the promised land to spy out the people, the land, and the strength of the enemy. Of the 12 who went in, only 2 came out with a good report on the land, the promised land, and that was Joshua and Caleb. Joshua being a forerunner of the type of Yeshua, and Caleb, a mighty man of God. And now Caleb was, if you will, the last warrior. He was 85 and insisted that he would take the high country for the tribe of Judah. He would ascend the mountain, conquer the armies, defeat the giants or the Nephilim in the land. And while the promised land appeared to be the prize, that was never really the battle that he, Caleb, and Israel faced. The battle Caleb faced, the real battle, was the battle of faith over fear. Israel, or metaphorically speaking, the church, has seen the promised land. We have carried from it spiritual clusters of grapes so large that a single cluster had to be put on a pole and carried by 2 men. We have seen the land of milk and honey, and yet have forborne to enter the land. The battle is being lost because the church has forborne to fight. As state after state enshrines murder of the unborn, the curse will come, and with it will come death and destruction, or as Revelation says, death and hell following, of both millions of Americans and eventually America itself. The church has tasted of the gifts of the Spirit, but has largely missed the Spirit that gave the gifts, and largely the enemy has prevailed because we, the church, have never challenged them. Caleb's victory secured the land for Israel, but that was just the physical manifestation of what the real battle was about. The real battle was faith over fear. It was not a battle for the land of Israel. That was just the manifestation, the way to keep score. Had Caleb not won that battle, there would be no Calvary. There would be no Last Supper. There would be no Bethlehem, no manger, no angels in the sky, no Mary, no Joseph, because there would have been no Israel. I believe the church has been in the age of Manasseh. This has been the church age. But what is appearing over the mountain, the promised land, the land of the giants or Nephilim, is the dawning of a new day. This is the day of Ephraim. Manasseh was promised that he would be a great nation, and the church has spread. But Ephraim, who both Jacob and Yahweh anointed as the firstborn of Israel, and who Yahweh named as synonymous with Israel, was in fact Israel, was to become many great nations. We are entering that age. Ephraim was the bridge between the northern and southern tribes, and will be again at the fulfilling of the prophecy of the twin twigs. But he was also the bridge between the northern and southern tribes, which is all of Israel in totality, and the Gentile nations, which have now become a part of Israel in the tribe of Ephraim through the rod of Joseph. And we have been called into this last great, epic, final battle, and this last and final revival. And this is not going to be the revival that many are hoping for, and in fact are fundraising on. This great end-time revival is not going to be amongst the unsaved. It's going to be a revival of the remnant. Now, I can hear you already saying, no, Jake, you're wrong. The Bible talks about the great end-time revival. And to that I say, read the clear words of Matthew 24. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and they shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another, and many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. That's not talking about a great revival. That says the love of many shall wax cold. But he that should endure to the end, the same shall be saved. No, there is no great end-time revival of the lost. Even the love of many in the church will wax cold. Many will be offended by the faith and betrayed. And that will be the order of the day. Many of you thought that your brothers and sisters would stand behind you, but for the real remnant, for Ephraim, it will be their brothers and sisters who will betray you and turn you into the authorities. And you will be despised and persecuted and prosecuted and jailed and killed. But he who receives the fire of revival, the testimony of Yeshua, which is the spirit of prophecy, he shall receive the crown of life. That, ladies and gentlemen, was Caleb's victory. The manifestation of his victory was Israel and the land for Judah. But that wasn't the prize any more than the manger was the prize in the Christian story. It was what was in the cradle, in the manger, that was the prize. Likewise, Israel was not the prize, but merely the manger from which history and eternity would roll out. It was the manger or cradle that would hold the birth of the first age of Manasseh, and at the end, the love of many waxes cold, and the darkness or the birth of a new age, the age of Ephraim, will dawn, and then a new age of the reign of the Messiah for 1,000 years. The warrior spirit of today, the spirit of Caleb, that victory of Caleb, is the battle still between faith and fear. So as the great dawn peers over the new horizon, know that it is in the dim light of this new dawn that the real battle begins, faith versus fear. It's time to put on the whole armor of God and grab your sword, the sword of the Spirit, and let the battle be enjoined. The battle which has been in the heavenlies with flashes and thunderings and lightnings filling the sky is coming to our realm. Gird your loins, prepare yourself for battle, and fight the battle to the end. And whether we finish our history here on this earth or observe from the shores of heavenly Jordan, we will still receive the crown of life, and we will rule and reign with Yeshua for 1,000 years. That was Caleb's victory. That is our victory. Faith over fear. For the Baker Report, I'm Jake Baker. Until next time, good day, take care, Lord bless.